Top 10 goalkeepers in the world, thanks to ESPN FC and Casey Keller, who is their resident goalkeeper expert, I think. Rayson Dubin, Manny Fraxwell. We're here. That's always funny. It always gets me when you switch someone's name around like that. All right, so we're going to count down. We're going to tell you who we've got. So let's just take a quick look at the list, because we're going to talk about some of the higher numbers first before we get to the top 4. So Samuel Handanovic is the Inter Milan goalkeeper, who actually is one of the only players in their team not to come under criticism at the moment. Handanovic is actually, Casey Keller said, he's a well-respected goalkeeper, consistently one of the best Serie A, specifically for his goalkeeping ability to save penalties. 21 saves, I believe, so far in his Serie A career. Really astonishing there. So we're going to move on. Vincent Eniyama, the words do not get easier to pronounce as we go on. He's the Nigerian native, 32 years of age. He plays for Lille. Casey Keller himself said that he's been excellent. He's very athletic. I have watched him specifically play for Lille, and he is very athletic. And you could say that some of these goalkeepers who are not as well known definitely deserve to be in here. So Subasic is one for Monaco, sticking to the French league. But I'm going to go on to Joe Hart really quick, number 7. So Joe Hart's form, although Manchester City, according to many critics, have not performed up to par this season, has peaked in form, I think, in certain games. Specifically against Bayern Munich at home, I thought he was outstanding. Against Barcelona, even though they lost, he kept the score to a minimum and gave them a fighting chance. You cannot base a goalkeeper's ranking on this and performances throughout the year solely on the amount of goals they conceded and their team's finishing position, because you have to work with your defenders around. You can be a great goalkeeper, but if you've got a bunch of defenders who are allowing 20, 30 shots a game, you can only keep so many of them out. That's what a goalkeeper's job is there to do. You can't always keep clean sheets, but he is there to try and stop as many goals going in as he possibly can.
There is a goalkeeper on this list that we'll get to later who has a shocking 8 clean sheets on the season, which is unbelievable form. Joe Hart, at least what I was reading up on, and from the ESPN article too, is that they mentioned that there's the momentary lapses of concentration, which I found interesting to point out because, I mean, when it comes to being focused, you got to stay focused for 90 minutes. Obviously, it's common sense we're talking at this point. But, I mean, Joe Hart just doesn't seem to be consistent when it comes to being up there with the top 5, probably why he didn't break into the top 5, although when we do get to the top 5, there's no room for anybody else.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Besides another guy that I'm sure you're going to mention from our favorite Ukrainian soccer league.
Yes, I'm going to give him an honourable mention. Okay. But when we talk about the people that are going to be onto the top list, we're going to move down. Bravo is actually in here, the Barcelona goalkeeper, right? A little bit surprising. He's at 20 clean sheets in the La Liga, which is impressive, right? So, and he's 32, commands his area well. He is a good goalkeeper, but he was given the starting position over Ter Stegen, but then Ter Stegen seems to come into these bigger games, such as the games that we've recently seen against Juventus.
Is that an experience thing?
I just think that Luis Enrique likes to have different goalkeepers for different positions. I think both of them have been hindered with injuries throughout the season as well, but he prefers Ter Stegen, I think, in Champions League matches, even with Bravo coming back to fitness, and he performed well, especially against Juventus, especially against Bayern Munich, upcoming game against Juventus. He made some good saves.
So well, first of all, in La Liga play, it's probably a lot easier to be a goalkeeper when you're winning games 8-0.
8-0, exactly. It's a very true statement. And it must be so boring for a goalkeeper, especially for Barcelona in some of the games this season, when they're just watching their teammates having so much fun, banging in 8 or 9 goals and 7 or 8 goals, which has happened numerous occasions this season, while he's just sitting there picking his nose at the back, which is hard to do.
It's a rather large glove to pick.
It's hard to do when you get gloves on. So we're going to go down. So Bravo, as I said, but this is the top 5 where we can start to argue a little bit more. So Hugo Lloris of Tottenham, who has been tipped to be going to Manchester United this year, apparently. He is quite, and he's unassuming according to ESPN, made the most saves in the Premier League season this season, according to Casey Keller. Where would Spurs be in 2014-15 without the heroics of their goalkeeper? He, as well in the same category as Joe Hart, does make this somewhat unexpected error now and again. And most great goalkeepers actually have had those lapses in concentration. De Gea had a horrendous start to Manchester United career, making numerous great errors. But Lloris has adapted well to this league, and I think that he deserves his spot in this, is in the top 5 maybe.
A lot of what separates the top-tier goalkeepers from that middle tier of goalkeepers in world football is distribution. Yeah. And that's where I think you're referring to in terms of his errors, is that when he's distributing the ball out of the box, he's made some really bad errors that has immediately led to goals being scored for the other team, in which there's no one to blame but goalkeeper.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. Many people, as I said, like sometimes you can't prevent what's happening because you've got so many shots like coming into your net that basically you can only prevent a certain amount of them. But if you're directly responsible for many errors by trying to be too fancy at the back, like Ter Stegen is very talented at pinging the ball. He's got great distribution, but sometimes he'll put it right into the opposition's path basically by trying to be too fancy. So let's go down to 4. I think this is where it gets very questionable because Gigi Buffon this season has rolled back the years. And not to say that he's not been brilliant in the previous years, but at the age of 37, I think he needs to be in maybe 3rd position. I don't know if he can be considered top 2 this year, but to take Juventus and to be at the forefront of their movement this year to go to the Champions League final, you cannot overlook him. And
experience.
He's so experienced, and he's still
37, 600 Serie A matches played, 147, international appearances for his country.
Yeah.
That's insane. So after a while, it just becomes routine after repetition.
Yeah.
And if you've been doing it really well for a long enough time, I don't want to say it becomes easier, but there's not much you haven't seen before.
But on the flip side of that, you do get someone like Casillas, who is similar in his experience to Buffon, but he starts to get somewhat lazy, I'd say, in his approach, and he's not getting his hand stiffly down to the balls. He should. A lot of shots have came by his butterfingers, I think, this season, whereas Buffon still remains to do the things that work well for him. He's quick off his line, he's very experienced, he commands his area, and he's still not at fault for as many of the goals conceded with Juventus this season as someone like Casillas this year. And I think the Juventus have a stronger back line than Real Madrid, but I think that Buffon has upheld himself basically as an experienced goalkeeper. And now we go to the main 3 who are going to change places basically for me, because De Gea doesn't have anywhere near as good a back line as Thibaut Courtois has, right? So Courtois is at number 1.
Or Neuer.
Neuer. And De Gea for me, and I agree with pundits Graham Lasso, Gary Neville, I think Paul Scholes, when they all came out and said that De Gea has been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League this season, and I think he has been. I would put David De Gea still at number 2. I think Manuel Neuer is still the best goalkeeper in the world, and I would put Courtois at 3. They have it as Courtois at number 1 based on the fact that Chelsea were so dominant this year, I think, and they put Manuel Neuer at 2 because he fell victim to a few goals from Barcelona. It's Lionel Messi. Come on.
The reason I have a problem with Courtois at 1 from the observations I've made watching the Premier League over the last season, well, similar to you in the way that, if you swapped Chelsea's back 4 with Manchester United's back 4, guess who's going to easily be the number 1 goalkeeper in the world? In the world would be De Gea. Courtois is young.
Yeah.
And a lot of words, at least thrown by pundits out there, is potential. He's showing great potential to be the next best goalkeeper in the world. Neuer's already proved.
Yes.
Anybody who ever doubted him at any point throughout his career that he's able to win on the biggest of stages, Germany in the World Cup, and make tremendous saves against a Barcelona attacking 3 that is unstoppable. And it's not like, it doesn't matter if Neuer's in goal or if Buffon's in goal. Barcelona's going to find a way to score when you have Neymar, Messi, and Suarez attacking constantly. The pressure's there 24/7. So that's the only reason. Nothing against Courtois, but he has 3 of the best back four defenders. You can't say defenseman's a hockey term. Leave me alone, commenters. But when you have 3 of the best 4 defenders in the Premier League on your team, it just makes it a little bit easier. You're not going to see as many strikes off the boots.
Yeah, and at the age of 22, Courtois is undoubtedly going to be one of the best. He already is one of the best. It could be the best. But as we know, great goalkeepers age well. We look at someone like Oliver Kahn, German goalkeeper, and it seems to be in the Germans' DNA that they age well in terms of being a goalkeeper, and they come into their prime in their 30s. We look at goalkeepers like Van der Sar, who is Dutch though, but he was so good in his late 30s, and why Manchester United remained consistent with him in goals, because he would still make these saves going towards the end of his career. But I think for me, this list, I think, is a pretty accurate portrayal. I think Ter Stegen needs to get a mention in there. But in terms of the top, I think Neuer still remains number 1. And I think De Gea should go in there at 2, because he was up for Player of the Year this year, in amongst guys like Hazard, outfield players. And we know it's hard for goalkeepers to get that recognition. Neuer had the impossible task of trying to split between Ronaldo and Messi for the Ballon d'Or, which was really hard. But Neuer, I think that it's unjust to think that he should drop position from number 1 based on the fact that Barcelona scored some unbelievable goals. Messi's second goal, of course, he chipped Neuer coming in there and all his width. I think I said 6'7" because I'm thinking of him spread out. I think he's 6'4".
Oh, with his reach, it might be more. It might be 6'7", 6'8".
But if anyone can break the impossible, it's Messi. But I'm going to end with this. It would be wrong of me to finish this clip without mentioning an honourable mention who should make it on the list just on the fact that his team, he has been at the forefront of their success this season. Dnipro going to the Europa League, I always call it the UEFA Cup, Europa League final. He is Higuain's worst nightmare. It is Denis Boyko, who plays for Dnipro, who are going to be in the final. The Ukrainian team, Cinderella story, up against Sevilla. I mean, you kind of root for them, but he has been at the forefront of their success because he stopped Higuain on at least double figures, different occasions against Napoli over both legs in the Europa League semi-final. All credit to him because he proves what a goalkeeper can do and how much of a difference a goalkeeper can make in the team. So we want to know what you guys think. Leave your comments in the section below. Who makes your list? Who's the #1 best goalkeeper in the world? That is the main question. Is it Neuer still? Does De Gea make it in there? Is Courtois right? Are they right when they say that Courtois is #1? Comments in the section below. Jason Rubin91 on Twitter. Francis_Maxwell. Subscribe to TYT Sports. Click on Jason's middle finger.